And we'll start here. So what are vendor codes? So vendor codes are created by the State of Maine system called Advantage, which is our vendor payment system. So all of you folks are what we call vendors. Even if you're not providing us services, you're providing services that we're paying for. So you are vendors. So you have a vendor code in our state system, which is called Advantage. You may have, and you probably do have, multiple vendor codes. There's one for the Department of Education. Most of you have one for Maine Care. It starts with BC21. That's a Maine Care specific one. You probably have some for other state agencies as well. If you operate a tech center, you probably have one for the Department of Labor. If you do adult ed, you probably have the one for Department of Labor as well. So why do you have multiple codes? Oh, first of all, it's important that you know which one is used for the department, and I'll talk a little bit later about why that's most important, relevant, right stuff going on right now. Um, so why do you need separate vendor codes? So I did not know this, and Paula was going to speak about this today. So all of the questions about this, I will try to answer, but I learned about this morning from reading the email from Paula. So this mostly separate vendor codes are needed to help maintain compliance and for auditing. So we'll go into it a little bit more, but it's basically to keep a clear audit trail of what things are spent on. So for example, some federal and state funding can only be used for specific purposes. And also some funds cannot be commingled. So those all need to be kept separate, which is why we have separate vendor codes. And again, it's for strong internal controls, and you can also use it for budgeting. So what information do we have in Advantage? So Advantage has your tax identification number. If you are a municipal school organization, we may have multiple tax identification numbers for you. There may be one for the town, and there may be one for the school department itself. Some have multiple, some do not. But it's important to know which one is in the system for the code that you're using for when we talk about changes, which we'll talk about later. We need to make sure we have the one that's attached to that specific code that we're using for your organization. We have contact information. So Advantage actually has two contacts. They haven't been able to tell me what the difference is for them. One is a procurement contact and one is a payment contact. Procurement doesn't really make sense in the context of a school organization. And like I said, I asked them what the difference was and I got a very vague answer. So most of you have the same one. Some of you have two different ones. It doesn't really matter as long as the address and the contact information is available and they're accurate and up to date. We do have address information for both contacts. They do not need to be the same, but they can be the same. And we also have information about how you will be paid. So we will have, you can be paid by check, direct deposit, or by pay mode. And I'll talk about those in a little bit in depth in a second. So if you need to update information, if you have a change in contact, so if the business manager changes, if you're new to your organization, you are likely not the contact and you should let me know. And I have a form that you'll need to fill out so that you can update that. If the address has changed, specifically if you are not doing direct deposit or pay mode and your address changes, we will get your money back. It will come back to us and we will have to, you won't get it. So it's important for us to know when your address changes because we need to keep it up to date. And also if we're paying you, for example, if we're creating some type of an invoice, either it both for the EPS payments and for anything that's coming from another program within the department, we have to put your address on the invoice. So if you've told someone in a program that you have an address that doesn't match the address within Advantage, that will get bounced and the invoice won't be paid. So it's important that we know all of the address information and that you communicate it to me. I keep a list here for the department. We have an internal list of all the vendor codes for the Department of Education, along with your address information. And we keep that up to date. I look at it monthly. I check it against Advantage monthly to make sure that we are up to date and accurate, so that anyone that is paying you from the department can look at that information and make sure that the invoices are correct and that you will be paid properly and timely. So if you want to change anything from your contacts for your addresses, or if you want to change how you are paid, please contact me, and you can either contact me directly or you can use our generic gpa.doe email address to change that. So what are the payment options? We have direct deposit, which you can do directly. You can send, I have a form that I can send you that you can fill out, and you can send that back to me and we can get that set up. Again, I said that helps so that checks don't get lost if address is changed. And you also get your money faster that way. And it can save you some trips to the bank and having to have people sign checks and just lots of frustration. I mean, if you get your personal paycheck done direct deposit, then you know the advantages of doing that. Excuse me. Pay mode has some of those same advantages. It also allows you 24/7 access to their portal so that you can look at the details of the payments and you can schedule reports. A lot of bigger municipalities like this because they can get multiple emails. So the town treasurer can get the email and the school person can get the email as well. And they can have reports and they can do more robust reporting with pay mode than you can do with just direct deposit. Paper check is always an option, and if there are issues with either pay mode or your direct deposit, you will get a paper check. So that's always the default. A lot of you may have gotten, I'm up to the G's now, so I've been going through all of the vendor codes in Advantage for school units, and I'm contacting you if you don't have direct deposit. I'm also contacting you if you have pay mode to let you know that you can do direct deposit instead of pay mode. And I'm also letting people know if we have some outdated vendor codes for you. So if you have some places I'm finding, vendor codes that haven't been used since the early 2000s, some that haven't been used, for over a decade. So it's important to get those cleaned up and out of the system. If you have updates for that how you want to be paid, please let me know. Again, I've sent emails to some of you regarding vendor codes, but I'm here to help with any of that. So if you want to change to direct deposit, let me know. If you want to set up pay mode, they have their own portal and their own customer service, and you can connect with them. This is going to end my PowerPoint, so I'm going to stop sharing. But I did want to talk a little bit about why it's important for you to know what your vendor code is. There have been some, I forget, priority notices coming out from the department about how to apply for grants within the customer self-service part of Advantage. If you are going to apply for those and use those, you need to use the code from the Department of Education. You may go in there as a school unit, you'll put in your TIN number and you may see 10 vendor codes. Some of them are outdated. Like I said, I'm trying to get to everyone to let you know which ones need to be ended, and I'm sending out codes, forms for people to fill out so that we can get those old codes deactivated. But I went in and checked on a school unit, and the first one that popped up was a really old one from when districts were using Maine State Billing Services to do special ed billing. Those are really old. They all have an address in New Hampshire. Most of them do not have a direct deposit. So if you pick that one, if whoever's going into vendor self-services is picking the wrong one, you may not get your money the way that you think you're going to get it. So I don't know who in the school districts are going into vendor self-service, but it's important for you to know that, and it's important for you to know which vendor code they should be using to apply for these grants. And if you do not know that, please contact me because I can provide that to you. that was my presentation on vendor code. So if anyone has any questions, please let me know. And, okay. Does anyone else have anything they want to talk about this morning?
I just want to quickly say we're still working on FY27 APS formula. The deadline to get ED 279s out to the schools is February 1st, which is coming right up, and we're doing our best to meet that deadline.
So we did get a question this morning too from a school unit about when they will get their funding for the adjustment, the payment that for the minimum, I always say this wrong, the minimum salary for hourly staff. At that we have looked at all of the data and we've calculated what school units will be getting for an allocation for that. However, we haven't determined when that will be paid yet. I think Paula was waiting for the whole EPS subsidy thing to settle out, and then that will be done. So I anticipate that that will be done sometime February or March. Denise, do you have anything this morning?
Sorry, actually, I do not have anything really. The dispute period for main care is over. So that would have been something I would have spoke of.
Do we have any questions from the field? Everyone's just recovering from their long weekend. Well, all right. Well, if you think of any questions, you know how to contact us. We will be having a new piece put up on our website that will have all of our more robust information about who we are and what we do with pictures of our faces. So that will be coming up on our website soon. So we'll talk about that maybe next month when that's done. I think that's all we want to talk about today. So if there are no questions, then, oh, there is one other thing. I do have one other thing to share. Just looked at my list of things we needed to talk about. We do have a new page up on our website about cost sharing. So if you are a school unit, an RSU or a CSD, we do have a new page. Actually, I'll stop doing that and I'll share my screen from the beginning here. Okay. So if we go to the department's webpage, and you go to school services, structure and governance, we have school district organization and cost sharing here. So we have it broken to these SADs and CSDs are still old and they need to be updated. But the regional school unit one is now up to date. It lists all of the RSUs, what their apportionment method is, their most recent organization, certificate of organization, and how they do their cost sharing. We've gotten some questions recently from people that have been doing some research and also from some school districts themselves about what cost sharing methods there are across the state. So we wanted to make sure that that information was out here and was more up to date than it had been. The one that was out there hadn't been updated since it was over a decade. So it was important that we get that updated. So we have all of the towns within the RSUs, and we have how many what their apportionment method is. If you think this information is incorrect, it's from the certificate of organization. So we'll need to have a discussion if you think that's not correct, but please let me know if you do think it is not accurate. So that is out there, and it is publicly available. And I think that's it. As I said, I will put the video up. It takes me a couple days to get it up there because I have to edit it, and then I will and then I have to submit it. But I will also put the PowerPoint out there about the vendor code so that people have that for reference. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Charlotte.